Hello and welcome for another episode, Live from the Heart podcast. This one will be a solo episode where I want to share with you how it feels to work in two languages. This is not new for me. I've started my entrepreneurship in French, but I've been traveling a lot for the past 10 years. And also I've been living in English for most of the time. I've been traveling and meeting boyfriends, and now I'm married to someone who's German and we speak in English together. I have an American boyfriend also because I'm in a polyamory setting. My coaches have been English native for a while now, and I do online programs in English. I have so many things that I do on a daily basis in English. I've been thinking about it for so many years to shift my work into English, and I didn't dare to do it before this year. So what happened for me is that when I became an entrepreneur, I started writing books, and I have other podcast episodes about that. And I wrote my books in French. And one of the main one is Naturopathy for Dummies, which literally means La naturopathie pour les nuls, which has been pretty much a big success in French, and I thought it would be adapted into English, and it was not. And we tried the best we could to have it adapted into English, but we don't own the rights. We only have a small percentage of the rights, and so it was not possible to make it happen. And then I thought, I'm going to write more books, and some of them will be adapted into English, and then it will launch my career into English. And it didn't happen. One of my books was adapted into German. It's called the Yoga Cookbook, written with Garland Bardell, and I put all the information about health in this book, and it's only in French and in German. So until last year, all of my books were in French or German. And all of my programs, or most of my programs, I would say 95% of my programs were in French on my website. So what I do, if you don't know already, I have online trainings, I teach coaching, I have level 1 and level 2, and I have online programs that people can just do with recorded videos, and I do Q&As, and they were mostly in French. It's about coaching, it's about living an empowered life, it's about creating your love life the way you want, it's about daring to make money from the heart, taking better care of yourself, these kind of programs. And it made sense to me to continue working in French because I have spent so much time building an audience in French. I have all those books in French, and I have credibility in French. And I used to think that my English was not good enough to work in English. And I think this is a belief that a lot of people who are non-native English speaking are just we're just nourishing this belief, I would say, because we're scared to take the leap and jump into a greater ocean. And it's like swimming in a small pool and working in French, and then swimming in a big ocean where everything has to be started fresh again. And I've talked to many people who work in English and who are not English native, and they all tell me the same. And I hope you will remember this too, because it was very helpful for me. Everybody who speaks English come from different countries, different places in the world, and not everybody uses the exact same terms, and not everybody has the same accent. So it doesn't matter if you're English native or not in order to take over the world and actually work in English if this is your desire. And it took me a while to really accept that and to just take the leap. So I've decided to do it for, I think, one main reason this year. First, I'm tired of thinking about it instead of actually going for it and making it happen. It's a bit of something I said in another podcast. I don't know if it's been published yet or not when you're going to listen to it. I had a conversation with my friend Fabrice, and I told him it's a little bit like when I was living in Berlin and I was thinking about living in Costa Rica without knowing if this country would be a good fit for me, which it was for about 20 months. But from where I was sitting on my couch in Berlin, Germany, there was no way I would know if Costa Rica would be a country for me, because I had to experience it. So it's a bit of the same for me, having thought about working in English for so many years without actually taking the leap to do it and communicate more in English and do more podcasts in English and launch online programs in English and take the effort to translate my books in English as a sovereign being and self-publish them. And all of that, I will only know if it works when I do it. So I'm currently doing it. And I had a sense last year that there are other parts of me which wants to be expressed in the world and really just go for it. And I've created great success in French to the point that I've created a business of €1 million a year in 2022. A tiny bit less in 2023, but still massive success. And I want to know if I'm able to do it in English. And I have an inner knowing that I can do even greater. And it's not only in terms of financial revenue. It's important, but it's not that important, especially to the point that now my life is secure. It's important to me because I want to touch more hearts. I want to touch more people. And there are more English-speaking people in the world than French-speaking. So it's an exciting journey. And also, I had to acknowledge to myself that the people that I want to work with, that my favorite people to work with, they are very curious people. And those people, if they're really curious, they speak English. Because if they speak only French, it's kind of limiting their view on the world, because so much content, so many books, so many great thinkers have shared their content in English. So I would say that if you're only French speaking and if you don't understand English and if you don't have curiosity for what's available out there in English, you're not my core niche. You know what I mean? The people that I want to serve. Obviously, I'll continue giving content in French, but I want to work with curious people. Let's be honest. That's it. Because I am one of them. I'm one of us. So how did I do it? First, I didn't do it like this, like ripping a Band-Aid, because I couldn't. First, I've been talking about it for so many years. I remember I talk about it in Level Up. Level Up I created 2 years ago. It's my level 2 coaching training, and I've talked about it a lot. I was using the saying sortir l'américaine, which is putting out there the American version of me. That was a fun thing that I was sharing about fears and about daring to be visible and to be seen and different facets of us and things like that. So I was already working about that topic for a while. And at the end of 2022, I recorded about, I think, 10 or 12 podcasts with great people that I love in English. And it's interesting because I think I didn't dare to invite them before because my podcast was in French. I've had at that time probably more than 100 episodes in French, and I was like, oh my god, should I do a mini series in English? And I did a mini series in English. There's an episode with Regan Hillier, my coach, another one with Niguana, another one with Kathy the Wealth Wanderer. So many great episodes. If you want to listen to them, they're still up to date. I mean, this is so cool. And I've noticed that I didn't get so many listeners compared to my French episodes. So it was kind of a trying. I was trying with this mini series, and I lost some listeners, if I may say lost. And, oops, sorry, my cat is playing with the microphone. And what happened then is that I just went back to working in French mostly. And then I decided with Julia Espérance, with whom I co-created a program to help entrepreneurs to launch their businesses, and with whom I wrote a book called Réussir en tant qu'entrepreneur du bien-être in a French publishing house. We've decided to keep the rights in English, so it only took me 10 books to understand that I can sell the rights in a language and keep the rights in another language. Finally learning my lessons. So this book, we kept the rights in English and we self-published on Amazon. We did it with the help of Regan Hillier's agency, which is called Have It All Publishing. And it took us a long time because I didn't know at that time, and apparently I didn't learn my lesson yet, because this year I'm experiencing the same kind of experience, which is that translating a book into another language is not only translating, it's adapting. It's a whole new book. It's a whole new experience. You cannot do the same thing. You have to do another book, because you cannot keep the same expressions, the same examples. You really have to make it different. So what happened in 2023, we launched the book, How to Succeed as a Wellness Entrepreneur, which was best-selling book within a few days, really. We did great communication, and I think, yeah, we were ready for this, and it was really cool. And I was very proud of myself because it was really a sovereign step without having to wait that actually a publisher chooses us to translate us into English. It was a conscious choice that if I want to take my work out there into the world, I have to make it happen. So I did it. It was a great success, but we didn't sell that many books. We sold a good amount, but we didn't sell that many. And then I mostly communicated in French because the whole year I was keeping on selling my programs in French. So I think if you want to do something, you have to do it full on. Because if you speak in English and then you speak in French, and then the new followers that you get in English, they don't really understand why everything else is in French. So it's kind of misalignment in the communication. It's not so easy to do, so easy to follow us. So then I kept working in French last year. I think I was a little bit disappointed about myself because I was ready, with this mini series in English and then the book in English. I was hoping that I would finally take the leap and work in English, and I didn't. But this is also a year when I moved to Bali, and it was big to relocate and looking for land and opportunities to invest and starting dancing, taking a step back from the computer and entering a new relationship. So it was a very busy year for me last year, and a beautiful one. And I realized that I could no longer do what I do the way I do if I want to see what else I'm capable of doing. So that's why beginning of 2024, I've decided that from February, I would mostly communicate in English, and I would launch online programs in English, and I would just go full on, which is perfect because last year I published my book Millionaire from the Heart in December in English. That one too became best-selling book in creativity. I didn't expect it to be in creativity, and we sold quite a lot of them in English, and it's soon to be released in French. I wanted to have them published at the same time, but we couldn't make it happen with the translation and adaptation. And because we want all the versions, it was a lot of work. It's been recorded for both languages in audiobook, and it's in Kindle, and it's in paperback. So it's quite a big investment in terms of time. Okay, so let's continue. So I have some notes here that I want to talk to you about. So the books, as I said already, when you write a book in a language and then you translate it into another language, it's not only a translation. You can have a translator translating it for you, but you will always have to read it again. You will always have to put it into your words. You will always have to make sure that the essence of the book is still available through your words. So this is another book. And then you have to communicate in this language that you've written the book in. And this is a lot of work too. Then social media. I've received a lot of questions about that, and especially because I support entrepreneurs to work into to take off their business, and they ask me, how do you do and how will you do when you will work in English? Will you no longer communicate in French? I don't have the perfect answer to that because I'm still trying stuff. And what I'm trying currently is that I communicate mostly in English on my account Anne-Claire that you find actually everywhere on social media. I'm on Instagram mostly, and then I'm on Telegram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok. And so on my account Anne-Claire, I try to communicate mostly in English. And then I have another account called Live from the Heart coaching. And this one, I'm not the main person who posts. It's Florian from my team. And on this account, we communicate mostly in French because this is an account where we attract most people to discover about my online programs and trainings. So this one will probably stay in French. So what I do is that I show up in stories in English. I make my posts in English. Sometimes, not always, I translate in the comments into French so that people actually, if they're French speaking, they don't have to click on the translation button to have the translation into French. Although I don't know if it's necessary, because I think today a lot of people understood that if you follow someone in another language, you can just click on translation and they right away have access to the translation. The only issue I see is that when you write something on a post, like you make a carousel with sentences, it's not translatable. Same if you speak out loud in a story and you don't write anything, then the people cannot translate what you've been saying. So that's one issue too. On YouTube, my videos and my podcasts are being published. And on YouTube, what I find great is that people can put subtitles. And they can put subtitles in English if they want to understand better what has been said, because it's actually written and they can follow with their reading. But they can also choose to translate it into another language. This is a YouTube feature, which is pretty awesome. So if you yourself have trouble understanding me, you can ask YouTube what I've been saying, which is pretty cool. Newsletters. Okay, so the newsletters has been a challenge because we have a lot of contacts in our French newsletter and we don't have that many contacts in our English newsletter. So what happened is that we use MailerLite and we choose to keep one MailerLite in English, and then we open a new MailerLite in we have one MailerLite in French with a lot of contacts, and we opened a new MailerLite last year, 2023, in English. And I've created an online program for free with my husband Christian called Refocus Your Life, which is still available. So I invite you to sign up if you want to do it. It's a 4 weeks free program, and we launched it in January to share with the people who follow us how we keep the focus so that we can achieve our dreams and really tune into our vision and every single day step into action and make shit happen. So if you want to do it too, join Refocus Your Life. And the people who signed up, which was a lot of people, they then joined this newsletter in English in MailerLite. I haven't sent many newsletters yet, maybe one or two since the beginning of the year, because it's double work, as you can imagine. I'm writing a newsletter, like my monthly newsletter in French, and then I have to write it in English too. So I'm going to take this leap. I'm just taking my time to do it. For now, I've only announced my retreats in both languages, and I keep doing my monthly newsletter in French, which is awesome because this is a newsletter where I share about what I read, what inspired me during this month, the upcoming events, and things like that. It's a very personal newsletter about life updates and, what is truly inspiring to me, what keeps me going. So, I invite you to sign up in French or in English. Then the big question is about my programs and my trainings. And I've spent quite a lot of time with my team trying to figure out if we would translate some of them with AI or if I would refilm everything. So far, I don't have a strong answer to that question. What I know is that very soon we're going to launch again one of my lead programs, which is called Make Money from the Heart, which has been a great success since I've launched it in 2021. This program is 100% recorded, and there are a few Q&As with me and with guests. So what I'm going to do for the next launch, I'm going to refilm all the videos in English. So the program will be available in English and in French. So what we're going to do is that if you want to sign up for the English version because you understand English, but then you realize that maybe your English is not that good, then we will give you access to the French version. It will be the same content. Just know that there will be a slight difference, is that one was filmed 2-3 years ago and one is filmed this year, but this is the same exercises, this is the same concepts, because this program is epic and I don't need to change it. And I've added one module beginning of last year. So for me, it's still up to date. And yeah, I'm just going to refilm all the videos for this one. I don't know if I will do it for smaller programs or not. So what we've tried with Geneviève from my team is to see how it looks when it's been translated with AI. The voice is great. The accent is much better than mine, and it's pretty cool. And it feels very natural in the audio. But because they also try to change the facial expression, and then so that the mouth moves the way that the voice, the sounds are being spoken, it looks really weird. And I'm not ready to put out there some of these weird looking videos, because I find it distracting when it's not. It's like when you look at the movie when it's like weirdly dubbed in another language, and it takes you a lot of effort to actually adapt to the facial expressions, and it feels a bit off. So if my programs would be only audio, actually AI would be perfect, because it's not needed that I'm speaking them out again. But because it's also video, it's it's a bit off for now. But I guess AI will get better and better, and maybe there will be other options, which then opens up so many doors, because if I can translate them into, like, record them in English and then translating them into French, or record them into French and translate them into English, then I can do Spanish and I can do Portuguese and I can do Chinese and so many things. And it means everything can be available suddenly in so many other languages. And I think this is the future. And I know a lot of people are doubtful about AI, and yeah, I am too, because I think there are good things and bad things about it. But when you think that content could be available in any languages and you could have access to anything you want without being frustrated because you don't speak the language good enough yet, this is pretty cool. And as an entrepreneur, I think it's really awesome. But for the next one, I'll be recording all videos. I'm starting soon. What else? I've launched retreats for this year. If you don't know yet, check them out. So I have 2 retreats this year in Bali. One about abundance in May, 7 to 10 of May, in my home in Ubud. I'm super excited. And then another one in July, 23rd to 30th of July. It will be also in Ubud, but in a beautiful resort. It's an all-inclusive retreat, luxury retreat for writers. And both of these retreats will be held in English. And the second retreat, the writers retreat, I will have, and I know that because someone already signed up, she's French speaking writers. And what I will do is that I would give advices and concepts and a lot of things in English. But then when it comes to exercises to go deeper into your creativity, I will offer the prompts, all the experiences to choose to work in French or in English. Because if you need to ignite your creativity in French because you're a French writer, then you must be doing it in French. I totally understand that. Because for myself, I'm still writing in French, and sometimes I'm writing in English. And some things I really want to write in English because this is how I think. And some things I want to write in French because this is how I think. And so I have this gift of being able to choose. So I want the people who join the retreat to be able to choose to. So if you don't speak English, if you don't write in English, I got you covered. You can join the retreat even if you're French speaking. But you must be able to understand a little bit of English so that you can just access to everything that I have to share for the group. Voila, so it means we created 2 sales page, 2 presentation page for the writers retreat. One is in French, one is in English. So this is adding workload on my team and on myself, which I'm okay with because I've made the space for it. I've at the beginning of the year, I told my team, I said, we're gonna cut off some other things because this year is a priority. The priority is launching more programs, more books, and communication content in English, because I want to know if we can make it. So I'm gonna make the space. And yeah, my boyfriend says I'm gonna turn pro and work in English, and not do it as an amateur. I'm gonna do it full on. Voila, I think this is mostly what I wanted to share today. I want to keep it short. One other thing is that I keep being invited in podcasts and events in French, and I appreciate it. And we've decided with my team that we're no longer accepting the invitation with people who have just a very small audience, because I don't have the time for that. I have a lot of things that I want to do. And I will keep accepting invitations in English, because I'm getting trained into answering interviews in English, and this is something that I really want to do. And actually, I've been already featured in different magazines since the beginning of the year in English, and this is also something that we focus on, is that I'm ready to be seen not only in the French-speaking world, but also in a bigger world. So this is a choice that we're currently making. So I hope it was helpful for you. I want to thank my team too for all this help and the support that I receive every single day, because if I was alone, it would be harder, because it's a lot of work to just do everything in one language, but everything in two languages, it's even more work. So yeah, thanks to everyone who is close to me, to my dream team. Voila, that's what I wanted to share today. If you're interested in joining my upcoming program, Make Money from the Heart, I'm pretty sure there's a waiting list. So I'm going to ask my team to put the wait list into the description of this podcast. You can find my books, How to Succeed as a Wellness Entrepreneur and Millionaire from the Heart, already available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. And I will talk to you in another episode. And if you want any more content about the behind the scene and how I make my choices in my 7-figure company, reach out and ask questions, and I'll do other episodes. I wish you the best, whatever you choose to do, work in French or in English or in different languages. And see you next week. Bye. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it around your people, and also give it a 5-star on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because this is very helpful to make it more visible. Thank you. Much love.